During the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church burned thousands of people at the stake. But the question I had is, why burning? There are lots of different ways to execute someone. Why that? It's particularly gruesome. Did they just like the smell of burning flesh? Well, it turns out there was a reason. I'm Cameron Riley. I'm the co-host of the Renaissance Times podcast. And on some recent episodes, we've been talking about the Great Leper Scare of 1321, which you've probably never heard of, but it was a big deal in France. There was this conspiracy theory that started spreading that the lepers were putting poison into the waterways and the wells of France in order to either turn the Christians into lepers or to just kill them so the lepers could take over. Then the conspiracy theory kind of evolved where it was the Jews who were secretly financing the lepers to do this. Then it evolved further where it was secretly the Muslim sultans of Spain that were financing the Jews to finance the lepers, and there was this whole thing. Of course, there was no evidence for any of this apart from some confessions extracted under torture. By the way, I feel really sorry for the poor guy that had to torture the lepers. I mean, his whole job is to pull someone's fingernails out and make them scream in pain. But you do that to a leper and their whole finger falls off and they just shrug and go, hey, it's a regular Tuesday for me. Anyway, back to the burning. The first burning of heretics happened in Orléans, France in 1022, and then it turned into this burning frenzy where they just started burning people left, right, and centre. The Grand Master of the Knights Templar was burned in 1314. Pope John the 22nd declared that the Franciscan spirituals, the followers of St. Francis of Assisi who believed that Christians should be poor, he declared them to be heretics and had a bunch of them burned. A few years later, he ordered the burning of a woman called Prusse Bonetta. She was one of the leaders of a group called the Beguines. There was a group of women who kind of lived like nuns, but they weren't part of any official religious orders. They just wanted to do their own thing. And that was a problem for the church because they weren't taking orders from a man and they really hated that. But why burning? So apparently the church had a law at this stage that they weren't supposed to shed blood. So one of the great things about burning people alive at the stake is you're not shedding blood, you're burning it. Another reason was burning people meant that there were no relics that could be turned into holy relics by the people who followed these heretics. By the way, a heretic is just somebody who disagrees with you on spiritual matters. And finally, and most importantly, burning was symbolic. You were actually using earthly fire to send somebody into hellfire. It was a way of declaring that these people were actually evil because they disagreed with the church and to make them suffer the most painful form of death imaginable, being burned alive. And the church didn't do it themselves. Technically, they had a loophole. They would declare somebody to be a heretic, but then hand them over to the civil authorities and have them burn them on their behalf. Kind of like a mob boss giving the order to have somebody whacked, but not actually doing it themselves and then saying, hey, it wasn't me.